Hey, podcasteros, bienvenidos. How's it going today, everyone? Happy Wednesday. This is Studio Steve, and you have reached the Pod Sound School podcast. And if you were expecting a Podbits episode, I'm tuning in before this episode to tell you that we are changing things up a little bit today. Like many others, we have been completely overwhelmed and, frankly, going a little insane with everything that's happening. How are you guys holding up? Has anybody else completely lost their minds yet? Are you rinsing your groceries off with soap and water and wiping down your Amazon packages with Clorox wipes? I really hope that you're staying sane and that you're staying safe, and especially that you're continuing on in your podcasting journey. We have been being asked more than ever about how to start a podcast, so I thought it would be very appropriate to share this episode with Veronica today for all the newbies out there. So for our more advanced podcast listeners, this episode is for the new ladies in town. I really like this episode with Veronica, and I hope you enjoy it as well. And before I turn it over to her, I'm also very excited to announce we have opened registration for our first online podcasting course. It also is for the newbies. It's called Smart and Sexy Podcast Launch. If you want to find out more about that, we have a ton of information that you can find at podcastingsmart.com. It's going to be a really cool course. We're really excited about it. And classes officially start May 13th. Also, starting the week of the 20th, we are going to do 2 weeks of live webinars. So make sure that you stay tuned and come find us on social media at Pod Sound School so that you can stay up to date. They're free webinars, open to anyone, and it's going to be really fun. We're going to cover a lot of great information about podcasting. Okay, enough for me. Let's get to this tasty episode.
So I don't know about you, but now that I've had a little bit of time to settle in with this lockdown, and after the initial hit of all this madness, I'm trying to focus on more positive and hopeful ideas. I'm hearing so many uplifting stories about people using this opportunity to make significant changes, to take projects off the back burner, to have conversations they've been postponing, or to make connections that they've been meaning to. This is for sure the time to be connected and to collectively stay strong. But what if instead of scrolling through our social media feeds and opening the door to the hysteria and spiraling into self-isolation and depression, we look inward and use this time to take inventory of our skills, our strengths, and why not start a new project? This is the time to get in touch with our inner child and be dreamers, creatives, optimists, visionaries, a time to reevaluate our purpose and our goals. It is the perfect time to sing, to dance, to write poetry, to make videos, and of course, my favorite thing, to get behind the microphone and make podcasts. Having your own podcast has never been easier, and it's something that you can do remotely without even leaving your house. As they have become more popular, podcast apps and equipment developers continue to simplify the process and make it more affordable. On today's episode, I'm going to convince you that starting your own podcast will open new doors for opportunity and creativity, enrich your relationships with others and yourself, and create new connections. Not to mention that it is the antidote for cabin fever, boredom, and isolation. Don't believe me? Stick around until the end of this episode and find out. So much has happened so far in 2020, and there's nothing to suggest it's going to slow down. When we're looking back on 2020, I have a hunch that we'll all remember it as a time that forced us to step into our greatness and propelled us to change. For me, I'm hoping that this change is both on a personal and a professional level. These moments of isolation are the perfect setting for some recollection. And as I look back at the last couple of years, it feels surreal where I'm at. I feel both an out and lucky, and it has everything to do with podcasting. Because I decided to take a chance on podcasting, I have a business, I help clients with marketing and production, I have the freedom to work from home and be collaborating with people I admire. Through podcasting, I've met so many amazing people and had conversations and experiences that I otherwise would have never had. We were practicing social distancing even before this unexpected and forced isolation. We're so consumed by our digital devices that we don't realize we're creating more distance between ourselves and other humans. It's no wonder podcasting is gaining such popularity because it provides a solution for this separation. It's a platform with no restrictions, no censorship, no gatekeepers. It's a place where real and intimate conversations take place, where stories are shared, where ideas are exchanged. And in that space, you start making connections and finding your people and building a community you can call your tribe. And we all sing Kumbaya. Soy feliz, Señor, Kumbaya. Soy feliz, Señor. Something magical happens when you talk into a microphone. You remember that you have a voice and that what you have to say matters. You step into your power and you know that at that moment, it isn't about you anymore. It's about your audience and how it's your duty to show up for them with your stories, with your knowledge and skills, your humor, your inspiration, and your wisdom. Your voice is memorialized, digitized, and shared with like-minded people. With time, your audience starts trusting you and seeing you as an authority. Marketers and advertisers realize this. This is why podcasting is now part of their marketing campaigns, and millions of dollars are being invested in podcast ads and sponsorships. Listeners are more inclined to trust the opinion and buy products their favorite podcast hosts use and recommend. This, in turn, also gives the podcaster the ability to ride the wave of growth and build a digital presence, establish a respected voice in a niche community, and even construct a very lucrative career. Whatever your goals might be with your podcast, there is no other creative medium that provides the ease of use, low cost, and freedom of expression. So now that I got you singing Kumbaya, let me tell you why I think 2020 is both the best and most important time to start a podcast. 2020 isn't just going to be a year for us to remember, but also a defining year in podcasting. So much is changing and so quickly with the medium, which has everything to do with its growing popularity. Millions of dollars are being invested in the industry. More companies, startups, and software and app developers are coming out with new services, products, and subscriptions to make podcasting more discoverable, available, and accessible tool. We've seen in the last few years the bloom of more podcast conventions, podcast awards, podcast networks, and the newly announced Podcast Academy Awards, the Golden Mics. Remember how YouTube started in 2005? Remember how blogging started in the early 2000s? People who started on those platforms, not necessarily knowing what they were doing, and stuck with it and stayed consistent, are now among the leaders of those platforms. And podcasting is heading that direction. It's early enough in the game where you can still have a competitive advantage. However, it is getting harder every day. That's why I think 2020 is the most critical year to get started. Oof, you can tell I love podcasting, right? But let me just clarify it and sum up just some of the benefits of podcasting. Having your own podcast will 1. Open doors to opportunity and creativity. 2. Establish your authority on a topic within a niche community. 3. Enrich your relationships with yourself and your community. 4. Create new connections and put you in places you've never imagined. 5. Help build your confidence. 6. Improve your speaking, thinking, communicating, and writing skills. 7. Provide an outlet for self-expression. Having your own podcast will help propel you forward to your dream destination. Now, tell me, are those wheels starting to spin? Or are you like many others who stop the wheels from spinning quickly with thoughts like, I don't think my voice would sound good on a microphone, and I have an accent. Would anybody really listen to me? Not even my kids listen to me. I don't have time to learn the technical stuff and it's so hard. I don't have the extra money to spend on equipment. My husband wouldn't be okay with that. If you didn't have those thoughts, well, you would be podcasting. Don't allow those thoughts to keep you from growing and trying something new. Whether it is in podcasting or anything that speaks to your interest and lights up the fire inside you. The trick is just to get started. And I will finish up by saying, starting a podcast is actually very easy and can be done free. There are many free ways to get started, assuming you own a smartphone, a tablet, or a computer. We're insanely passionate about podcasting, And we love helping others to get their ideas off the ground and put great sounding, well thought out, high performing podcasts into the world. We're also really excited because we're launching our first online podcasting course, and it's called Smart and Sexy Podcast Launch. It's an intensive 6-week course where students learn step-by-step how to plan, produce, and launch professionally sounding podcasts with a strong brand and social media presence. If you'd like to reserve your seat, you can visit podcastingsmart.com. And with that, thanks for hanging out with me today. And before you go, 2 things. No olviden hacer la tarea and happy casting, amigos.